Yeah. Go live below, and now we're live.
Okay, it says I'm live. Okay, yeah. All right.
Okay. So let me try and grab a YouTube link really quick. Guys, if you're tuning in already, we are going live, and I'm trying to here we go.
Remind me later. I'm just telling this out loud. You don't have to actually remind me, but this is so that I'll remember that I need to log into Threads on Chrome, because I think it has everything saved from my Safari, but not Chrome. And I probably should have it across platforms, like for, I don't know.
You know, it's funny. I'm having trouble finding my YouTube, like where it's on YouTube streaming. Did you already post from yours?
Supposedly, I'm going to go look and see if it's there. Because it should be there when I log in, right?
I would think. And I don't.
Was last time.
Okay, I'm live on X. And I see us, moving around. So.
Hey, everybody.
Are there people joining us?
Yes. So we're streaming right now. It's there on my YouTube. Does that mean it's only letting us do one platform at a time? And then when I logged in with YouTube, it preempted yours?
No, it's just I don't see. I'm in YouTube and I'm trying to find where I'm so sorry. Hold on one sec. Live. Here we go.
Oh my God. This is nothing compared with what we've been through today.
No, I'm dumb here. Okay. I'm just gonna put a post. Oh shit. On Blue Sky.
This is what I like about the other one, that it gives you these ahead of time. Like, surely there has to be a way.
I don't know. Okay, I'm good. Let me do Blue Sky now. If you guys are on, and we're going to talk a little bit about Jasmine, or not a little bit. It's going to be a short live. We're going to talk about what's going on in Texas. And full disclosure, neither one of us are from Texas. We have just been observing what's going on social with some of the disinformation with Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico, and we wanted to chat about that a little bit. So I just posted on Blue Sky, see if some of our Blue Sky followers can join us, and I'm going to let some friends know as well.
Did we figure out if it can show us who's on the live?
Like how many people?
Like numbers, yeah.
Yeah, the number is right at the top, like right above. It says live.
Oh, I see it. And but it doesn't show them that.
It doesn't.
Is the problem, right?
Okay. That I don't know.
Okay. All right.
All right. So maybe let's do this. So we're going to talk about Jasmine Crockett a little bit. I have a video queued up that maybe we'll. Oops.
Is false, but her stance on Israel and Tallarico's are functionally identical. No, she isn't. Not only is this false, but her stance on Israel and Tallarico's are functionally identical. Jasmine Crockett has said that Israel existed before she was born and will continue to exist after she's gone, which is probably true. And Tallarico has said on MS Now as recently as September that Israel has a right to exist and to defend itself. Neither of them take AIPAC money. Crockett has voted against aid packages to Israel when they don't include humanitarian aid to Palestinians. She has spoken out against both Hamas and what Israel is doing to Palestine. She voted against 2 aid packages to Israel last year in 2024 under the Biden administration, and she also voted against censuring Rashida Tlaib for her statements about Gaza. She has voted yes on resolutions condemning Hamas for their taking of the hostages. She's voted yes on aid packages to Israel that were also tied up in aid that included Taiwan and Ukraine. So saying that she is huge on pro-Israel is simply false. And her and Tallarico have both openly criticized Netanyahu, as has anyone with 2 brain cells. Gee, I wonder what...
So I guess I thought she was good because she kept it really easy to understand. She's not talking about really into the disinformation we've been seeing. But I think the one thing that's interesting is like if you look at some of these accounts that are immediately jumping in and and usually it's the same thing, like she's pro genocide, she's it's like the same talking points they use for Kamala Harris. If you look at these accounts, they really they're not even talking about Texas before now. They're not talking about like Tallarico and Colin Allred before now. Like and now that Jasmine Crockett is in the race, literally the day she announced, they all have something to say about her, about Gaza and all that stuff. And also these people weren't really talking about, from what I've seen, they weren't really talking about Jasmine Crockett before she jumped into this race.
Right. And so to, play the devil's advocate here, like maybe they didn't feel like they needed to until she joined the race. But my concern about that is, why did we not hear anything? I mean, I didn't see anything about James Tallarico, nary a peep, like nothing, like no criticisms, no questioning, no anything. And he'd been in the race for quite a while. So I mean, it's interesting how the second she jumps in, my entire FYP is just full of criticisms for her, but I haven't seen any from James Tallarico or any questioning. And then the problem is with that if people really do have questions or concerns, it's like, it's now everything's wrapped up in, a very clear campaign, foreign or otherwise, intending to smear her campaign because it's likely that they find her to be the biggest threat as a front runner. And so they're trying to take her down first. It's going to create it's sowing the seeds of discord. And it's creating problems because now, either candidate that wins has this record, right? Like this trail, this history on the internet of criticisms, often based in disinformation. And so that's the problem, is that now we have this record of misinformation and disinformation, and we're trying to correct it in real time. And you can't, because these aren't just people, right? Like it's bot farms, and it's individuals can't really compete with that. That's the whole point, right? They're not organic concerns of citizens. However, they then connect with other people that have opinions on the internet, may or may not live in Texas. And now suddenly it looks like they're legitimate until you actually dive in and see, where they're based, when they created their account, like how long have they been talking about this? What other things are they talking about? Or is this the only issue? That's my concern. If you come in here and you're throwing one issue at me, okay, that suspicious, very suspicious. Also, because of what we talked about on Thursday too, everything. Sorry, like I also want to get to everything we talked about with Thursday with the misogynoir and all that as well, because it's all interconnected.
So the other thing is, the filing deadline's over. So if these people, if you don't like either candidate, and I'm fine with Tallarico or Crockett. Like right now, like I'm not. I like Jasmine Crockett a lot. She's been on the national stage a lot. When we came out of the election, the 2024 election, she was one of the first ones out there talking, fighting, saying all the things. So she has my support from that point of view. Now, whether she's going to be the best U.S. senator for Texas, that is on Texans to decide. But I think what we don't like is this disinformation. And then on a very basic level, if any of these people who are coming down on either of these candidates, like to me at this point, we support both Democrats. If you had a problem, you should have put up your own candidate. Like you should have talked a candidate that had the record that you wanted before the filing deadline. And we only have 2 right now. You have 2 options, or you have this guy.
Well, and the problem is that people there are like real humans, and then there are also the bots who are coming in and saying, well, there's other choices that aren't of the main parties. And you and I both have had exhaustive conversations about this, and the fact that you're not going to, in a highly contested Texas Senate race, have a third party candidate somehow defeat a Republican. That's not going to happen in the state of Texas right now. That's not me being defeatist. That's just simply a numbers game. And so while I appreciate that there might be third party people, I get it that they exist on the ballot. They are not a viable alternative. They are not going to step in and have the name recognition on a ballot that a Democratic Party member is going to have. And we've explained this over and over and over. So if you're still on the internet, like yelling about the fact that, oh, there's other options, and if everybody would just like let go of the, two party, until the Electoral College has been removed, until Citizens United has been reversed, like we're not going to win a Texas Senate seat as a third party person. I appreciate that they run, and I value, competition, and in a democracy, it's important to have choices, but like also stop. So you're wasting my time. You're wasting my time. We're talking about this and the fact that it's not a possibility when we could be talking about actual issues and ways to elevate the Democratic candidates to try to defeat somebody who's actually threatening the people of Texas, right? A win by John Cornyn is a threat to the people of Texas. And so it's just, I'm getting to the point now. I've tried as a political scientist and as a teacher to be patient with people, because sometimes it's real people. It is real people on the internet. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't live in Texas, but it's like, I, in a good faith effort, want to try to explain why I believe in the concept of third parties, but not in this particular race, not in a Senate race where a Republican is more favored historically, and not at a time when our government is falling to fascism, right? But I'm now getting to the point where I just want to throw something through my computer. Like, I just want to punch something. I'm like, y'all are just, this is on purpose now. Like, this is rage bait now. I'm not going to explain it anymore. You can go Google it. We've explained it a bunch. Maybe I need to find one of my videos on why this is not a viable option and just keep sending them that way. I don't know.
Yeah. So as you said,
sorry, I'm so frustrated.
We have a two-party system. So it's either the Republican or the Democrat if you want to win. So you have to, sorry, but you have to pick one or the other. So you have two Democrats that are in the race, two Republicans that are in the race. Pick one. So if you're not picking either Democrat, if you're working to pull down both Democrats, you're helping Cornyn. So I put up this graphic here. This is his own campaign graphic. And I circled things that I think we should care about, okay? 99% voting record with Trump. No, I'm not down with that. Backed by the Border Patrol and cops. They chose this guy. They, like ICE chose Cornyn. No, I'm not down with that. He helped pass the big, beautiful bill that is raising everybody's insurance and took away Medicaid, for millions of people. So I think he's worth fighting against. And in order to really fight against him, you have to lift up the Democrats.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting here that John Cornyn and his team have a lot of money and a lot of resources, and I'm sure have done a lot of research. So they understand that they're up against a challenge here, and they're going to start to try to separate themselves a little bit from the Republicans and Trump, I think, to try to garner some of those centrists, like, kind of moderate Republican voters that are on the fence and going, I don't love, ICE kidnapping people off the streets. And valid, and they're going to try to take some of that. So it's even more important right now to be uplifting a Democratic candidate as we go forward. And so to me, it's really on messaging and styling in terms of how each candidate is going to run their campaign, because I really do think that James Talrico and Jasmine Crockett are both qualified candidates, but they have different styles. And so it's like, who do you think is going to be better suited to defeat John Cornyn is how we should be coming into this. Because at this point, like Chris said, there's no alternative. It's like either you want John Cornyn to be your senator or you want one of these Democratic candidates to be your senator in the state of Texas. And so for me, because they are similar in terms of their what they promise policy wise, agenda wise, in the bigger items for Jasmine and Talrico. So if it were me, I would be looking at who I believed could beat him statewide. That would be my strategy.
And I also think a lot of it, can you guys hear me? Okay. A lot of the opposition to her is this outrage over Gaza. And I think as a human, like I do not want Palestinians to suffer. I think there have been incredible injustices, the bombings, and also I always go back to this, like most Palestinians in Gaza are children. They're under 18. But I also care about what's going on here in the homeland. So as I said, I'm not a Texan, but if I were, I would care about my energy. I would care about my, freezing to death because of our infrastructure. I would care about democracy. I would care about, the fact that really there are no abortion rights currently in Texas, these bounties, these things like that. Like who is going to, protect our rights here at home? I can also do that and be speaking up for Gaza and try. And I think it's very fair to push these candidates. I think it's very fair to say, hey, James or Jasmine, like what are you planning to do about Gaza? I really think it's unfair. I do not want my tax dollars going to support, like, let's talk about going forward. I do not want my tax dollars to support
100%.
weapons for Israel to bomb a territory that is really not functioning. Like Gaza is not a functioning territory that can retaliate against Israel. I think it's fair to push those candidates that way. The primary is in March. We have time. But to come out of the gate, like she's out 24 hours and we're, like you said, the misogynoir or this whole faux outrage, when they really have the same record. The difference is she's on a national stage. She's actually had to take the votes in Congress. He has not.
And her votes match up with people that other people have esteemed, like Bernie and Warren, and I don't know, some of them overlap with Bernie, but I know with Warren, I think her record is like almost identical to Warren. And we know that she hasn't taken AIPAC money. And we know that, again, something that happened in October 2023, I'm way less concerned about than what's happening right now. Candidates evolve. And so I do think, like you said, it's important to ask the questions, but that's different than spreading the disinformation and the misinformation, especially when it is applied disproportionately to a Black woman. And that's the problem that we have here, is that the criticism is disproportionately laid on Jasmine Crockett. And so now the problem of trying to correct that, both in terms of the disinformation and just the criticisms, also now looks like people are making excuses or being antagonistic towards James Talrico. It can look that way. And that's not what's happening, but that's the point of these like foreign bot propaganda campaigns, is that they're trying to do that. So I think, going forward, that's really important point, that you can still push back on these candidates and ask the questions, but that's different than saying, well, I'm just never voting for her. And, like that, it's super unhelpful, that kind of a rhetoric. And I would like to also point out that if you do care about genocide and you care about the human rights issues, then I would be looking towards what ICE is doing right now, because the way that they are treating people is like a half step away from a concentration camp on our own soil. And we know that they are also harming children in this as well. So while it may not be bombs, it is absolutely injury to people and a human rights violation. So if that's something that you're passionate about, I would be looking to that and asking them questions about their policy points or what their initiatives are to push back on the Trump administration, because this guy, John Cornyn, is all about that. Like, he's all for that and on board. And I wouldn't want to risk him being my representative or senator.
And the other thing is, a lot of these people, I've seen very few of these people pushing this are actually Texans. So on that note, Lisa is a Texan and she is on camera right now. So I would love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you good.
Yeah, it's super frustrating to see all of the bad actors and non-Texans inserting themselves into this race. Yeah, James and Jasmine are obviously two very different candidates, but the one candidate who has not changed is Cornyn. He has been the same this entire time, and we need to get rid of him. Now, on our end down here, it's interesting. We see ads for him all the time, but they're not vote for me ads. They're all about Trump.
They're like, look how good I am with Trump.
Yeah, they're all look at me and Trump. They're wild.
I mean,
but
his own
none of
campaign
them-
graphic says 99% voting record with Trump. He's very proud of that.
Extremely, but none of them are like, go to my campaign page, vote for me. It's none of that. It's just me and Trump. So, go ahead, because all of these elections we've had this year, Trump has been on the ballot, and we have had huge margin swings towards Democrats this year. So if that's what he wants to do, let him do it. We also have a lot of Texas Republicans that are not running for re-election because of Trump. So let's see how that plays out.
Yeah. I think also, I just think we have to keep, in fairness, we have Paxton in the race as well. So there's two Republicans that are terrifying. I don't know. Lisa, do you see a scenario where Paxton could win? I just don't. That's why I don't have a graphic for him. I could come up with one.
I would say here in Texas, I would say that Paxton is probably
Paxton's more hated than
he's more hated. He's probably more known because he's more hated. He's very loud. He likes to put himself out there, but we all know his business down here. We all know about the divorce and the cheating scandals. I can't even imagine how that has happened, but we all know about it. And it would be, for me personally, what I would like to see happen is for him to be completely jobless. He has stepped down from
Thank you.
from the attorney general.
How has that not happened already? Like that.
Position.
Listen, if I have done multiple videos on you, if I've made multiple videos on you, you are either doing something really, really good or really, really bad. And that's exactly Ken Paxton. Like if I've had to cover you more than a few times, then you're a real effing problem for the state of Texas. Like that's just...
And if he loses the primary, not only is he out of a job, he has to go to court now. He has so many indictments against him, so many crimes. So he would have to go. And also, we think Cornyn is much easier to beat, whether it's Tallarico or Crockett. I really think Cornyn's going to be much easier to beat, only because Paxton cheats he's like Trump in that way. He brags about throwing out hundreds of thousands of votes in our largest metropolitan blue areas, Tarrant County, Harris County, Bexar County, and with zero consequence. So that would be my hope, is that and there's a ton of infighting between Cornyn and Paxton here, just a lot. They're going at it. So, I would, I'm hoping, because
Let's
Cornyn
amplify
is
that.
the incumbent. Yeah, I would hope that because Cornyn's the incumbent, that Paxton loses, goes to court, goes to jail. We never hear from him again. So, and
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just curious. I want to get your take as someone who's living in Texas. Like, well, obviously, part of that is integral is the Latino vote. And they said that there was a poll that came out last week that said that James Tallarico is doing better with Latino men. Jasmine Crockett is doing better with Latino women. Tell me what your thoughts are, both on that and also what you see a candidate needing to do in order to grab the vote and get the win ultimately.
Well, it's really, really early because Jasmine just entered the race. But they're going to have to blanket the state. They're going to have to follow Betha's blueprint and go to every, speak to everyone, go to all the counties. James has had a substantial head start. He's been traveling the state for months now. We helped out at one of his events in early summer. So he goes to a lot of small areas, rural areas, churches, to big event halls. And I know Jasmine, I'm sure she's going to be doing that as well. So that's the main thing. They're going to have to speak to constituents. They're going to have to spend a lot of time on the southern border in West Texas, East Texas, not just Houston, Austin, Dallas. They're going to have to get away from the areas that we already know for the most part are going to vote for Democrats. So they're just going to have to make the trips.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? I mean, I know we saw in Virginia, obviously that's where I live, a big shift. We've seen it in all the other elections too. So we know that there's going to be a push to vote, like an anti-Republican push at this point. Do you think that's enough to make up for the discrepancy with, or the, Beto's numbers basically? Or do you think that they're going to have to do something different in terms of campaign? I'm just curious, like how we improve upon what Beto was doing, because obviously he made some really great strides there, but it wasn't quite enough. So what's going to be enough at this point?
Well, first off, no one's ever going to convince me he lost the 2018 race against Cruz. But I think what's really important is follow up, because we've registered so many voters. But the problem is there are so many that just aren't spoken to. I mean, I've canvassed like trailer park residential neighborhoods where there's over 300 families and no one has ever spoken to them before. So we have to hit every single area, and it's not just registering them to vote, but following that up. We had 9.2 million registered Texans that did not vote. We need to make sure we follow it up, especially in the Latino communities, a lot of minority communities, Asian communities. We need to go everywhere and listen to their problems, because it is not just abortion. It's absolutely nothing outside of our homeland. We have so many issues here. In the state is so big, it's like another country just about. And we have so many issues here, from education. Education's huge. Healthcare, jobs, housing, everything. And so they're going to have to really focus on that, and not maybe what national politics is focusing on, or definitely what some far leftists or fringe politics are focusing on. They've got to listen to what they need to talk to people, follow up, make sure they get to the polls and vote. And, people need to be listened to and heard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're running out of time. We try to keep this short, but I just want to encourage everyone that's on today. When you see this disinformation, you don't have to get into a fight with these trolls, but it's really helpful if you push back. Do you live in Texas? Who did you support before Crockett got in? Or just ask some questions, or just leave some basic facts. You can Google both of their voting records. We're really early days here. The primary is not until March. What I do love, and I hope this continues, is both of these candidates seem to be very respectful of each other. They know each other. They worked in the state legislature together for years. So I do sense that there's a healthy respect for each other. And I really don't appreciate, people on social tearing down Crockett in such a vicious way that seems really unfair. And I'm going to keep pointing that out. And
yeah,
and also I just don't want to make the same. I don't want to make the same mistake we made with Kamala Harris. This was happening, and I think a lot of us didn't realize these were disinformation farms. These are sometimes foreign actors, and they are doing this intentionally. It is not organic. They are not trying to help Democrats. They do not. They want to tear the party down. And like we keep saying, these are our two choices. So, you know,
yeah, I will
both.
add, I personally know them. They are friends. They truly are friends. They're not just colleagues. They know each other, and they're not going to be going at each other. There is a healthy respect between them, and it's not just them. Chip Roy has stepped down as well. He's running for Texas AG, so we're hoping he also is jobless. So there's a lot of exciting things happening in this state. So keep your eyes on Texas.
I agree with everything you said, Chris, and I think that it's important to point out the discrepancy. I do think, you know, there's a difference between saying we can't criticize these candidates or we can't question these candidates versus the people who have an agenda to tear down the party. And also remember, it's not just foreign, you know, bought campaigns that want to do that. There's also some people that believe that there is no way to achieve the goals that they want to achieve unless we tear down this entire infrastructure. That includes both parties. So there are people on the left that are extreme and have these extremist positions that I disagree with in terms of how we achieve things, especially when we're confronted with this kind of fascist regime. And so I think it's important to point out that they are a minority, but their voices seem amplified at this point because they are exaggerated by these other bad actors, these campaigns that are coming in and intentionally trying to take down Jasmine Crockett, who I think that they believe is a greater threat by name recognition. And so they're starting with her. But I agree that pushing back is fine, just not getting entangled in it, right? Like we don't want to waste a lot of time either with these people, but simply blocking them is not going to help. We saw that's what I think a lot of the case in Kamala's situation. Well, we all went around blocking them and we didn't, you know, do anything to address all of the
It's not just name recognition. She's a Black woman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So sorry. We went into that on Thursday as well in the live. Like we talked extensively about that and how that they're using that as a part of their, you know, op to tear her down. And we're
definitely going to get into that more too going forward as we see it unfold.
Because it's necessary.
And we'll also work to expose some of these groups as we find their organization structure. Because they're not, it's clear they're not going to stop. It's
no, and they're going to tell on themselves. They're going to tell, you're going to see, all of us neurodivergent people are going to catch the pattern. We're going to find them. We're going to see, and we'll start to link out some really good resources so that you can share those as well. Because I think it's super helpful to be able to direct people, like, you know, for instance, to her voting record, like, oh, like, here's this, you know, and you can actually factually check them in real time as opposed to having to go try to find that information. So I think that some of this can just be shot down with like, you know, like you said, where are you living? Like, what is your goal? But also some of it can be shot down with like, here's the actual information. So that's just like, you know, that's not correct. That's disinformation. That's misinformation. And calling it out in real time is important.
All right, guys. I think we've ended our live here. I think we're at the end of the road. So thanks everyone for joining us today, and we will see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.